Once again, Hansen entered the dark swamp. Last time it took him half a month to travel from Glory Shelter back to Steel Armor Shelter by way of Dark Swamp. Last time, he only had the mutant three-eyed beast as his mount and needed to fly on his own over Dark Swamp. This time, he could just use Meowth all the way as the mount, and no mutant creature could stop it. Hansen tried to kill as few creatures as possible. Except for sacred Geno points, he did not need anything. The second day he spent in Dark Swamp, Hansen saw from afar that an island was floating in the sky. He was suddenly thrilled and thought, there is a mystery island in Dark Swamp. A mystery island meant a sacred blood beast soul. In the past, Hansen needed a sacred blood ghost butterfly boomerang to kill the holy angel, but now he no longer needed that. In the entire First God's Sanctuary, there was hardly any sacred blood creature that he could not kill. Dark Swamp was remote and dangerous. It is not very likely that someone happened to be here. Therefore, Hansen believed he would not have a lot of competitors. Having summoned his sacred blood wings, Hansen flew toward the mystery island. The strong wind could not stop him at all. This time, Hansen only used the wings of the purple feathered dragon. He did not look exactly like Dollar, but he did not mind either. No one had seen the wings without the black beetle armor. In addition, all those who had seen these sacred blood wings had evolved, including Son of Heaven. When Hansen landed on the mystery island, he frowned as he heard noises of a combat. Someone still beat him to the mystery island in Dark Swamp. Hansen saw that it was a man and woman fighting a giant wolf with silver fur. Hansen thought the wolf must be the sacred blood creature on the mystery island. Hansen could not tell who the man and woman were. It seemed that they were not from Steel Armor Shelter. Maybe they are from Glory Shelter. Both the man and woman had a fabulous set of beast souls. They not only had sacred blood wings, even their weapons and armor were sacred blood beast souls. In addition, the two of them had both shapeshifted with sacred blood humanoid beast souls. The level of the beast souls they used were shocking even to Hansen. However, with their luxurious beast souls, they were not able to beat the silver wolf. The silver wolf was so fast that when it ran, it became a blur. Hansen could tell that the silver wolf was a huge threat to the man and woman. After watching for a while, Hansen smiled and did not hurry to go over. Standing afar, he decided to watch them fight. At this point, he was able to tell that the man and woman were not the wolf's match. He had no intention to fight with them and wanted to kill the wolf after they retreated. Indeed, a man and woman found it was more and more difficult to parry with the wolf. They also seemed to have noticed Hansen and did not want to fight anymore. Fighting while retreating, the man and woman approached Hansen. "Friend, I am Ma Mingjun from Glory Shelter Gang. How about we work together to strike down this sacred blood creature?" exclaimed the man when he approached Hansen. "If we work together, Hole gets to keep the meat and beast soul," Hansen asked. "Whoever makes the fatal strike gets to keep them." Ma Mingjun was 150 feet from Hansen. "All right." Hansen smiled and joined the two. The spinning spear and the diamond sword were both kept in Hansen's backpack. Of course, Hansen will not use them. He summoned the three-blade harpoon and threw himself at the silver wolf. Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei exchanged a look and quickly joined Hansen. They did not expect Hansen to be so decisive and were suddenly a bit scared that Hansen might snatch the beast's soul. With Hansen on the team, Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei suddenly felt less pressured. They were both shocked by how well Hansen could fight. Since they did not know him, they thought that Hansen probably was not from Glory Shelter, otherwise they would have heard about him. The two did not dare to slack, for fear that Hansen might kill the silver wolf first. In fact, Hansen did not use what he got. Otherwise, the silver wolf would be killed in the first round. Hansen was trying to practice 13 slashes on the silver wolf. Although the two of them had tried very hard to kill the silver wolf before Hansen was the one who took the wolf's life with 13 slashes. Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei were dazed. They had decided when to make the fatal attack, but did not foresee Hansen's sudden move, which beheaded the silver wolf instantaneously before they had a chance to use their trump card. Sacred blood creature Tornado Wolf killed. Beast soul of Tornado Wolf gained. Eat its meat to gain 0 to 10 sacred Geno points randomly. Hansen took a look at the Tornado Wolf beast soul and discovered it to be a beast soul mount. Hansen was pleased as he eventually gained his first sacred blood mount. Meowth was not a mount per se, because despite its speed, riding on that was a terrible experience. "Thank you," Hansen said and went to pick up the Tornado Wall's body. 1 second. Ma Mingjun suddenly stopped Hansen. "Are you going back on your words?" Hansen asked calmly, without getting upset. "Friend, we don't mean to do that. We just wanted to ask whether you are willing to sell the meat and beast soul." Ma Mingjun asked Hansen. No. Hansen rejected Ma Mingjun without a second thought. He still needed some sacred Geno points himself. Even if he did not, his holy angel needed it. Friend, if you are willing to sell, we can make you a very generous offer. Ma Mingjun exchanged a look with Su Xinmei and said to Hansen, I'm not interested in cash, but if you have a sacred blood beast soul from second god's sanctuary, I could consider a swap, said Hansen quietly. From his last cooperation with Lin Beifeng, Hansen earned a cut of 700 million. Plus the mutant beast souls he gained from Zuruyan and the nest. Hansen was quite a rich man at this point. He had used some connections to buy a few mutant beast souls and second god's sanctuary for his mom to use, which were a great help to Luo Sulan. However, a sacred blood beast soul from second god's sanctuary was so rare that Hansen had found no chance to purchase any. After all, he had not entered second god's sanctuary himself. That does not even make sense. We do not have sacred blood beast souls from second god's sanctuary. Even if we do, it is impossible that we exchange them for something in first god's sanctuary, said Ma Mingjun with his brows knitted. The sacred blood beast souls in second god's sanctuary were much harder to come by than those in first god's sanctuary. However, an unevolved person could not receive any beast soul from second god's sanctuary. If Hansen was to purchase a beast soul from second god's sanctuary for his mother would have to receive the beast soul from the other party directly. Otherwise, a primitive beast soul from second god's sanctuary would easily beat most sacred blood beast soul from first god's sanctuary. Because the beast souls from a higher phase could not enter a lower one, the sacred blood beast souls of first god's sanctuary were still very valuable. However, using a sacred blood beast soul of first god's sanctuary to exchange for one in second god's sanctuary was still out of the question. Forget about it then. Hansen was very casual about the deal. Since Ma Mingjun was from Glory Gang, it was very likely that his gang was like Steel Armor Gang and had military affiliations, which was the only reason that Hansen even considered a deal with them. Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei whispered to each other, and then Su Xinmei said to Hansen, who had already put the silver wolf on his back, "What is your name? Are you from Steel Armor Shelter?" "Yes," replied Hansen and quickly left Mystery Island with the silver wolf's body. Su Xinmei bristled. Should we just let him go like this? We had fought the sacred blood creature for a long time, and he basically took advantage of us. Ma Mingjun shook his head and said, this person was using the secret skill of Ares Martial Hall. Not a lot of students could use the skill. He should be a very important person in the Martial Hall. After Hansen returned to the ground, he summoned Meowth and put Tornado Wolf's body on its back. They traveled a long way to find a clean lake, and Hansen made a barbecue out of the wolf. Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei accompanied Hansen to Copper Mountains, saving Hansen a lot of time. Seeing the tornado wolf Hansen was riding on, Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei felt a bit upset. However, they were not able to kill the tornado wolf in the beginning and would not have been able to fetch more people to help them in any case, since they did not have extra sacred blood wings. In 2 days, the three arrived at Copper Mountains. The body of the mountains had a burgundy tint, which made the stones look like copper. There was little plantation on these mountains, so it was easy to spot someone in the mountains. However, with the peaks rising one over another, it was hard to find the turtle even though Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei saw which direction it went. Either way, having them as guide was much better than figuring out the direction alone. Hansen followed Ma Mingjun and Su Xinmei deeper into the mountains. After less than a day, they saw a group of 8 people who had noticed them as well, waving at them. Very soon, the group came over. Among them, a guy of Hansen's age greeted Ma Mingjun. "Mr. Ma, how come you are also in Copper Mountains? Are you also interested in that sacred blood turtle?" Although the guy was smiling, he did not sound like he was joking around. "You are kidding, Mr. Zhao. We Glory Gang suffered greatly last time. How do I dare to take the risk again? Just taking a friend to look at it," said Ma Mingjun. Xiao Yuqing's gaze fell upon Hansen. He asked with a smile, "I don't believe I have met this friend before. Just a stranger." "No need to know me," said Hansen and bypassed the group of people, riding the tornado wolf. "Mr. Ma, thank you for all your help. I think this is where we should part ways." Hansen turned and said to Ma Mingjun, then continued to travel. Anyone could tell that Xiao Yuqing clearly had an invested interest in the sacred blood turtle. Since Hansen also came for the turtle, they were competitors and Hansen did not want to waste time on small talks. For Hansen, his time is so precious, and Xiao Yuqing did not even deserve to be his opponent. The other people in Xiao Yuqing's group bristled and wanted to stop Hansen, while Xiao Yuqing stopped them. He stared at Hansen riding away on the tornado wolf, turned back to look at Ma Mingjun and asked, "Mr. Ma, your friend is quite full of himself. I wonder where he is from." Looking at Hansen who had left, Ma Mingjun did not say anything. Although he wanted to make friends with Hansen, but it will not make sense for him to offend Xiao Yuqing either. Ma Mingjun hesitated and told Xiao Yuqing how he met Hansen. Glory Gang and Xiao Yuqing had constant collaborations, and Xiao Yuqing also provided Glory Gang with equipment including Z-steel weapons. Ma Mingjun simply could not afford to displease Xiao Yuqing for an irrelevant person. According to what Ma Mingjun had told him, Hansen rode the tornado wolf and searched around. Maybe it was good luck, or maybe it was how fast the tornado wolf was. Hansen found the legendary turtle after one day. Oddly, despite that the Copper Mountains barely had any plantation, a lush fruit tree was growing on the top of that mountain. The fruit tree was about 15 feet tall and had many white flowers. Some flowers had already faded, and fruits as red as rubies were growing. When the turtle reached the tree, it managed to stand on its hind legs and put its forelegs on the tree trunk. Stretching its neck, it tried to bite the fruits. Is it because it wants to eat the red fruits that it came out from the ocean? Hansen was dumbstruck. During the compulsory education, Hansen had learned that the plants in God's sanctuary should not be eaten, especially the fruits and roots. Maybe it was because of the difference between human genes and the creature genes. Eating plants from God's sanctuary might have more harm than benefits on one's body. There were edible plants as well, but one must be an expert in the area to tell. In this era, hardly anyone would try the plants for themselves. Since scientific testing did not work in God's sanctuary, normally no one would eat the plants in God's sanctuary. As Hansen was still deciding if he should test whether the turtle was a super creature, he suddenly heard hoofbeat from afar. Hansen turned and saw Xiao Yuqing leading his group in this direction. Seeing Hansen and the turtle, Xiao Yuqing's face became grim. The group of people rode to Hansen and hemmed him in. Sitting on the back of a giant tiger, Xiao Yuqing said coldly to Hansen, "Do you want to live or die?" "What if I want to die? And what if I want to live?" asked Hansen calmly. "It is easy for you to die. We can kill you right here," Xiao Yuqing said and scoffed. "If you want to live, you need to let us lock you down and kick you out of the Copper Mountains." Hansen was not even upset, because these people did not deserve any of his emotions. He looked at Xiao Yuqing and smiled. "Don't you think you're being ungrateful to someone who had done you a favor?" "Boy, what are you talking about? When have you ever done us a favor? If you want to, you can try licking our shoes," Liu Haiji bristled, pointing at Hansen. Hansen did not even deign to reply him. Hansen sighed and said, "The favor is to not kill you. I haven't killed you yet, which is a huge favor. Instead of considering how to repay me, you are trying to harm me. If you are not ungrateful, what are you?" "Damn it." The group of people raged and threw themselves at Hansen with long weapons in their hands. Although Xiao Yuqing remained skeptical, there was indeed no one but Hansen himself. Without thinking any further, Xiao Yuqing summoned the spear and stabbed it at Hansen. Seeing the weapons coming at him, Hansen reached back and drew the spinning spear from his backpack. With a sweep, the spear flicked away all the incoming weapons, breaking those that were weaker than sacred blood. Although Xiao Yuqing and Liu Haiji's weapons were not broken, they could barely hold their weapons, because their hands were numb and bleeding. Everyone was dumbstruck, unable to believe that the person was able to parry with all of them with just a spear. Regarding the figure sitting on top of the silver wolf, they were all frightened. Hansen was in no mood to appreciate their looks. He quickly stabbed the spinning spear at one person among them. Those who were still alive suddenly thought of what Hansen said, but it was too late for their repentance. Hansen was like Apollo. Wherever he struck, lives would be taken. Run in different directions. We can't all die here. Xiao Yuqing turned and rode away on his mount, sick with terror. Having spotted a lot of strong men in First God's sanctuary, Xiao Yuqing had never seen a monster like Hansen. If he had not seen Hansen with his own eyes, Xiao Yuqing would not believe that such a person was in First God's sanctuary. Since he started running, his sacred blood mount only made it to 30 feet away, while all his 7 brothers were killed. Xiao Yuqing could not even imagine what a formidable person this must be. Urging the sacred blood mount, Xiao Yuqing thought his only hope was that he had a head start. In addition, his mount was a sacred blood beast soul, so it would not be that easy for Hansen to catch up with him. In the blink of an eye, the man with a calm look was only 10 feet away. "Please." Before Xiao Yuqing finished his sentence, Hansen and Tornado Wolf brushed past him and the black spear run through his head and stuck out from his mouth, silencing Xiao Yuqing forever. Without looking at the dead bodies, Hansen followed the turtle on the Tornado Wolf. These people did not deserve any of his attention. It was like killing chickens to him. The favor is not to kill you. However, that group of people failed to understand what Hansen meant. A few days later, someone found the dead bodies in Copper Mountains, which shocked the entire Glory Shelter. The group of people represented a large gang in Glory Shelter. However, all 8 of them died in Copper Mountains, each with only 1 strike, without any exception. Everyone else thought it must be a gang that killed Xiao Yuqing's group. However, Ma Mingjin knew it was Hansen alone. Thinking of what might have happened, he felt a shiver down his spine. Su Xinmei nodded and was too shocked to speak. She was also glad that she did not try anything stupid with Hansen when they were on the Mystery Island. In Copper Mountains, Hansen was chasing the turtle, feeding on the roots or fruits of certain plants. The turtle continued its way in Copper Mountains. Sometimes, where there were no plants at all, the turtle still managed to dig out some mushroom-like stuff to eat. Hansen became more and more shocked. Most creatures did not need to eat, while those that did eat were always extraordinary. Among all the creatures that Hansen had seen, the most extraordinary one must be Golden Growler, and the second would be the turtle. In a way, the turtle was even more odd. The golden growler would only feed on creatures of other species. However, the turtle would find plants to eat in the mountains, and it was obviously selective about what to eat. Following the turtle into a valley, Hansen decided it was time to test whether the turtle was a super creature. There was only one way into the valley. Hansen took back the tornado wolf and put on the black beetle armor. He then drew the diamond sword and summoned Devil Sword to strengthen it. Hansen also summoned the Flame Lieutenant, which floated next to Hansen and added a red tint to all Hansen's beast souls. Shapeshifting into the Bloody Slayer, Hansen used Heresy Mantra and turned his heart into a strong engine, pumping blood fast and fierce. This was the best Hansen could do at this point. Facing a turtle that was possibly a super creature, Hansen did not dare to slack a little bit. Even a newborn golden growler could fight him, let alone an adult super creature. Holding his sword with both hands, Hansen rushed to the turtle. The turtle was vigilant and had noticed Hansen a long time ago. It suddenly turned to him, with its emerald-like eyes fixed on him. Roar! Hansen made a slash with the diamond sword in an incredible speed. This was the best Hansen could do so far. Even if Qin Xuan was here, she would not be able to parry this strike. However, halfway through Hansen's attack, the turtle had suddenly stretched out its neck like a dragon left its lair. Instantaneously, the mouth of the turtle bit at the diamond sword. Hansen lost his color and tried to draw the diamond sword back. However, he could not move the sword either way. The mouth of the turtle was like a wrench, holding the diamond sword in place. The next second, Hansen heard a crack. The diamond sword that could match any sacred blood beast soul weapon, with the enhancement from both the Devil Sword and Flame Lieutenant, was crushed under the turtle's bite. To Hansen's shock, the turtle started to chew on the broken sword and swallowed it. Super creature. It is definitely a super creature. Hansen was dumbstruck and quickly turned to run. This creature King treated a sacred blood gear like candy. How could Hansen ever beat that? The turtle suddenly moved its 4 legs as if it was stepping on wheels, rushing toward Hansen fiercely. Its speed was even faster than Tornado Wolf. Damn it. Who said the turtle was slow? Seeing the turtle was almost behind him, Hansen believed if the turtle was going to make another bite, Hansen could not dodge even with Sparticle. Hansen threw the remaining diamond sword at the turtle, spread his wings, and quickly flew to the sky. The turtle quickly caught the incoming broken sword with its mouth, chewed on it, and then swallowed the pieces. Regarding Hansen, who had flown away for a few minutes, the turtle then slowly turned back to the valley to look for food. Flying in the sky, Hansen was relieved to see the turtle leaving. Then he discovered that he was covered in cold sweat. Fortunately, the turtle bit the diamond sword instead of his body the first time. Otherwise he would be broken in half even with his sacred blood armor. It is definitely a super creature. Hansen watched the turtle in the sky with complex feelings. It was fine that he had lost the diamond sword. However, Hansen saw no hope after witnessing the turtle's strength and speed. A super creature like the turtle was much stronger than the baby golden growler. People from Glory Shelter said the turtle was not very fast. Hansen believed it was because the turtle did not even bother to chase those people down. It seems that my strength is not enough to kill a super creature presently. Even if I use sneak attacks, without enough force to penetrate its body, it would still be useless. There was fire burning in Hansen's eyes. Although he was not able to kill the turtle, he confirmed that it was a super creature, and learned how strong it was. Since Hansen had already recognized its strength, what was left to do was to figure out how to kill it. Hansen now knew that unless he had Super Beast Soul Armor, any defense was useless in front of the turtle. 2 conditions must be satisfied if he wanted to kill the turtle. First, he must be able to use a footwork that allowed him to dodge the formidable bite. Second, he must have enough strength to drive a weapon through its body. Since Hansen did not have a Super Beast Soul weapon, Hansen must focus on enhancing his own force. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to pierce the turtle's body, even the weakest part, the neck. As for footwork, although Spartacle was quite fast, it was much slower than the turtle's bite. To Hansen's surprise, after checking the footwork all afternoon, he found a super geno art called Overload, which brought him some hope. The theory of overload was to make one's body work under extreme conditions that went beyond one's limits. It was to burn one's energy to tap into one's potentials. The more burden one's body could handle, the stronger one's force would be. It was somewhat like an overclock of the processor or graphics cards in ancient computers. It was to reset some computer components so that it ran faster than the manufacturer's specified speed. Undertaking the overload, the body would be inclined to collapse. Technically speaking, overload could increase one's abilities without limit. However, if the body could not take it, one would die from using overload. The better the fitness, the greater the potentials. In addition, one must control the level of the overload, otherwise one's body would be destroyed. Hansen did not have too much time to consider. Overload was the most effective way for him to improve at this time. It was even more direct than heresy mantra. Overload could increase the speed and strength greatly in a very short amount of time. However, heresy mantra had no side effects, while overload was dangerous to practice. With overload, Hansen did not need to learn another footwork. When he used both overload and Spartacle, he could probably dodge the turtle bite. Hansen entered the evolver section, because he was not the least interested in the unevolved opponents. As soon as possible he received an invite to fight. Hansen thought it was those who had lost to him, but was dumbstruck by the ID name. The ID looked very familiar, but it was not the two persons that he had beaten before. It was a one-word ID, Queen. Hansen had never seen such an ID, but he remembered this name. A while back, Huangfu Pinking had taken him to a restaurant named Queen Restaurant once, which was the property of Ares Marshall Hall. Hansen saw an evolver with the nickname Queen there in the restaurant, who destroyed an evolver opponent momentarily with incredible skills and power. Is this the same Queen? With some doubt, Hansen clicked yes and entered a fighting scene. Hansen hoped he would see Queen from the Ares Marshall Hall again. Although Hansen knew he was not nearly as good as she was, he still looked forward to their fight. After all, they were both fighting in the virtual community, and he would not be injured while appreciating her incredible skills. Hansen had seen many impressive evolvers on Gladiator, and some of them could beat him with just 2 or 3 strikes. However, no matter how strong they were, they did not leave him shaken like Queen did. During the countdown, Hansen stared into the opposite direction. It's her. Seeing the tall figure, Hansen was excited. Although she was dressed differently than he remembered and used the face blur function of the platform, Hansen immediately recognized her at first glance. Although Hansen did not know why Queen would invite him to fight, her invite made him jump with joy. To win or lose was not important. Hansen cherished the experience to fight such a strong opponent. After the countdown was over, Hansen entered the arena. Without any hesitation, Hansen used heresy mantra to strengthen the functions of his heart, blood, and kai. His fitness level was increased substantially. Without a word, Hansen threw a punch at Queen. He was afraid that if he did not make a strike soon, he might never have an opportunity to do so. Queen was definitely much stronger than most super creatures in First God's Sanctuary. Therefore, Hansen's punch almost carried all his strength, and would take most people by surprise with his sneak attack skills. Originally, Hansen thought Queen would fight back fiercely, which was her style. However, Queen simply dodged Hansen's punch and did not fight back. Hansen was dazed. Without much time to think, he threw a second punch. Facing such an opponent, it would be ideal if he could survive more rounds. The punch that cost all his strength only took Queen 1 step to avoid. None of his skills worked. Hansen decided to use the skeleton's disordered rhythm. He summarized Queen's rhythm and hit her when her defense was down. However, she suddenly changed her rhythm and made his attack end up in vain. Hansen had never met an opponent who could change her own rhythm as abruptly as this, which surprised him. Normally speaking, evolvers of her level would not accept his invite. But this time, Queen even sent him an invite. Hansen did not care about the reason why she did not fight back, as long as he had the chance to practice with her. However, no matter what kind of skills Hansen had used, from sneak attacks to the skeleton's skills, from 13 slashes to bladestorm, nothing worked on Queen. He could not even touch the corner of her clothes. What was even more scary was that only by dodging Hansen's attacks, Queen managed to force Hansen into a corner, and he did not notice that until it happened. Eventually, when Hansen was forced into the corner, Queen made her first attack. Jumping in the air, she kicked her legs at Hansen's chest. Hansen did not have any room to run. Reaching him in a second, Queen's kick was even more horrendous than the turtle bite. Hansen immediately tried to block Queen's incoming leg with both hands, using diversion and clinging technique, hoping that he could borrow Queen's force. But it was useless. In order to use diversion, he must understand his opponent's force. To cling to his opponent, he must follow Queen's force. However, Queen's kick was so sharp and fast that Hansen had no time to do either of that. He felt like his entire body was smashed into pieces. Then his simulated body suddenly disappeared, killed with one strike, and not even in a vital body part. There was only one possibility for the system to make such a judgment. The two parties were too far apart in strength that they were not on the same level. Hansen returned to the waiting area and sent a friend request to Queen. If they could meet again, Hansen wished to fight Queen at a different time. If she would not add him, he had nothing to lose. Unexpectedly, Queen accepted the request and Hansen was delighted to see Queen in his friend list. As he was about to send Queen an invite to fight again, her name became dark. Obviously, she had left Gladiator. What a shame. But since she has already added me, I believe I will have another chance in the future, thought Hansen, licking his lips. Queen was much stronger than the super creatures. If he had more chance to practice with her, it would be great for him to prepare himself for the future hunting. Hansen decided to study the video and find out how Queen managed to force him into the corner. After leaving Gladiator, Queen dialed a number and made a short call. She reported to Fuxingcheng her conclusion, which was she believed a soldier on warship was a suitable opponent for Cayenne Hezhen. Although she beat Hansen with only one strike, Hansen's performance was out of her expectation, which was why Queen agreed to add him. In fact, Hansen was the only person in Queen's friend list. She did not even add any student in Ares Martial Hall. In fact, in Gladiator, Queen never chatted with anyone or added anyone. Queen did not even use any footwork intentionally, but the spots he decided to go to when avoiding Hansen's attacks made Hansen feel threatened and unintentionally end up where Queen wanted him to go. That is to say, although Queen did not launch any strikes, she was able to put tremendous pressure and threat on Hansen so that he would want to run. Therefore, although Hansen was making all the attacks, he ended up in the corner. Another thought made Hansen sweat. Every spot Queen chose to go to was a spot that could threaten Hansen, which meant it was a defect in Hansen's movement. If Hansen had not been through this fight against Queen, Hansen had never thought he'd have so many defects that his opponent could take advantage of. Knowing what he did wrong, Hansen knew how to make improvements, and nothing was better than that. Naturally, Queen did not do that intentionally. All she wanted to do was to force Hansen to use all he got in order to determine whether or not Hansen was fit to be Cayenne Hezhen's opponent. Even Queen did not expect that Hansen could learn so much from fighting her. After drinking the Geno solution, Hansen started to practice overload. Different from heresy mantra, which emphasized on strengthening his inner organs, overload focused on putting pressure on his body. To put it in plain terms, when practicing overload, Hansen needed to do continuous exercise to stimulate his body cells to make his body work under extreme conditions. Hansen entered the Evolver section of Gladiator again and immediately received a friend request. Why would someone add me? Hansen was slightly surprised and checked the ID. It said QZH, which he did not recognize. Hansen still clicked yes. Very soon, QZH appeared in Hansen's friend list. Seconds later, QZH sent Hansen an invite to fight. It was rare that someone would invite Hansen, so he immediately agreed. After the combat started, QZH quickly rushed to Hansen and Hansen fought back. Very soon, Hansen was surprised. QZH was much stronger than he thought. Hansen estimated that he at least had a fitness index of 30. If he just evolved, then he should have evolved with his sacred Geno points maxed out. What was more impressive was that QZH not only had great fitness, but also fought exceptionally well. Every move he used was powerful. Hansen could tell that he must have learned from a master. Hansen became excited. It would benefit him greatly to spar with someone like QZH. Hansen initiated Heresy Mantra and enhanced his fitness level greatly, otherwise he would not be QZH's match. Even so, Hansen was still inferior to QZH in terms of fitness. After using both Heresy Mantra and Overload, Hansen could reach a fitness level of 28. If QZH was a beginner, it was very likely that he could push his fitness index above 100. Which was the goal of many evolvers. However, few people could reach that goal. Those who evolved with mutant Geno points maxed out could have a fitness index of around 20 after the evolution. Those who evolved with sacred Geno points maxed out would gain a sacred body and reach 30 in fitness index. After collecting Geno points in Second God's Sanctuary, ideally an evolver could reach 100 in fitness index, which was about as high as an evolver could reach. Bang! In half an hour, Hansen was defeated by QZH. QZH was better than him in every aspect and did not leave him any chance to fight back. Hansen did not feel upset and sent QZH an invite. QZH agreed immediately. QZH was great in terms of strength and speed, and he used many hyper-geno arts that Hansen had never seen before. Having realized he was not QZH's match in either fitness or hyper-geno arts, Hansen thought of one thing. Maybe I could try that. At least it will buy me more time. Hansen thought of the kiting skills that Queen uses. Since it was hard to fight QZH head-on, the best Hansen could do was to refine his skills and eliminate his defects. In addition, he needed to use some strategies to prolong the fight. Queen's kiting skills were like a ghost strategy. When he made the first step, he had to have the big picture in mind and think 10 steps ahead. Only by doing that could he lure or force his opponent to follow his design. Although it was unlikely that Hansen could reach Queen's level in 1 or 2 months, he liked the kiting skills a lot, which was why Hansen mimicked Queen's kiting skills during the fight with QZH. Although Hansen performed terribly in the beginning, he was making slow progress. It was a skill that needed lots and lots of practice. Kian Hejin felt intrigued when fighting Hansen. Kian Hejin had always practiced with the evolvers in Ares Martial Hall. Even though those evolvers had many skills, Kian Hejin would gradually get to know their movement patterns. However, the combat against Hansen was different. Hansen had shown him different things, such as disordered rhythm and weird strikes, sometimes even Kian Hejin's own tricks. Kian Hejin thought Hansen was an odd fellow. Kian Hejin considered what he learned was eclectic enough, while Hansen never ceased to surprise him, which provided him with many inspirations. Kian Hejin and Hansen did not communicate at all, and always started the combat the minute they saw each other, which continued for days. Without any conversation, the two persons were immersed in their own practice, and thought of each other as a sparring partner. That will be all for now. I hope you find this story interesting. Leave a like, subscribe, and enable notifications so you won't miss the next part of this story. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.